Hollow Knight Silksong, according to many members of the Hollow Knight community, should have been published by now, and we still don't even have a release date. So we're stuck making highly speculative content and desperately wanting Silksong because Silksong will be the greatest achievement in human history. Anyways, I saw this video on Stizzle's channel about a year ago and on Mithriel's channel just the other day, and I thought that I could weigh in on this interesting discussion. So today, we will ask the question, should Hollow Knight Silksong, the highly anticipated sequel to Hollow Knight, change the incredible difficulty they set in their original game and make an easy mode? So, for my view on this topic, I don't think that Hollow Knight needs an easy mode. Even me as a bad gamer, I play all of my games on normal difficulty, like I did on Ori, and I had no trouble with that game. And Hollow Knight is meant to be a difficult game, so making an easy difficulty makes the game less fun and satisfactory than overcoming an insane challenge such as defeating the Mantis Lords with the 5 damage nail your first time in your first playthrough. If you fought this boss on an easy mode, you lose that feeling of satisfaction, and overcoming that difficult challenge would be lessened much. Now, we'll talk about some easy modes that I've seen in other games and how those work. Now, why do games have easy modes? This is an important question brought up while discussing games such as Dark Souls, which has a notorious difficulty. Games make easy modes mainly for younger players or other players who might get discouraged and decide not to get good at the game. This mode would allow the audiences to play through the game and mainly focus on the story, as many easy modes are called narrative or story mode. This also allows the game to sell better, as it's much more accessible to a much wider audience. But two things regarding Hollow Knight come out of this. First, Hollow Knight does have an amazing story, but it isn't really apparent, as all of the lore is gathered from hidden tablets and cutscenes that are blocked behind lots of things that your average player would not get. And also, if Hollow Knight was some cheery, easy Kirby game, it would kind of suck. The game has a dark atmosphere for a reason, and the difficulty plays into this. If the game had ridiculously easy difficulty, it would ruin the mood and the feeling the game was trying to set. The first easy mode I could see going into effect in Silksong would be an HP-based system, where enemy health could be reduced to, say, 60% of the original thing. This system is used countless times across many genres and tons of games, many of which I've played, such as the game Warrior, which is an indie gem. Make sure to pick it up, it's quite great. And the system that they use, I feel, wouldn't really work in Silksong, but it would work better than in a game such as Ori and the Will of the Wisps. See, this system seems great on the surface, but it causes a lot of problems for that game. For example, nail pogoing in Hollow Knight is very helpful, but what if now I kill a Vengefly in a single hit? I couldn't nail pogo to half the spots I used to be able to, and it'd be harder for a new player to get some of these important things, and they might give up because they can't do a pogo. Also, this would mess up the timing on fun boss encounters, where timing is so crucial. If the first Hornet had only 135 health points, which is 90 less than her original health, or 60% of it, the fight would be so much less satisfactory and fun, as it would only be about 27 hits to kill her, which is less than the 45 it was. It would feel more like a normal, boring boss like Gruzmother than a fun encounter, and you wouldn't experience the awesome difficulty here. Another thing, and here I'll reference the White Defender fight, you might not consciously notice what I'm about to say, but it is quite important, and it makes up a crucial part of your memories of this fight. The soundtrack for this one fight has many different sections that I am planning to analyze in a future video about what makes this fight so great. But as you do more and more damage, the music changes drastically, and this changes how you fight and the mood of the fight in general. You start the fight with him, and the mood of the fight is very noble and honorable music. as he loses about 600 to 700 HP, which means he has about 900 HP remaining, he gets a bit frantic in the music. But then, at about 250 HP after that, you get to a more sad, weaker melody showing him weakening with more touching instruments. Instruments until you get to the epic conclusion where you hear him just struggling to hold on and the full orchestra is playing for these final hits until you finally destroy him. This is a complete, well-timed experience that you get by slowly depleting his health, and it tells quite a story and gives you an incredible memory that you're unlikely to forget. But if you were to fight him with only 960 health points, which is 640 less than the White Defender fight, or, again, 60%, this timing would be so messed up, and you wouldn't have as much of a experience with this. And especially if you had Unbreakable Strength on, you wouldn't be able to experience the boss fight as much as you'd rush through it. And you'd have so much of a chance to miss out on this amazing moment. The idea of having only a decrease in health doesn't help much either, because Silksong seems like platforming will play an important role in it. And these systems wouldn't help in platforming, which in Hollow Knight tends to be harder than combat. In Warrior, my favorite example game, it makes platforming more forgiving, because in this game you play as a ball, and one of your main mechanics is to bounce up and down. But you have like a slight window to keep this chain going and get higher heights. But in easy mode gives you more time to click the button so that you can keep these streaks going a lot longer. But how would Silksong do this? How would they do timing with a pogo or something? Another idea Stizzle posed in his old video was to remove certain enemies or moves in a boss encounter. But this would just make the easy mode a bad decision for players, as by playing on this difficulty, you would lose out on a lot of content and fun things, so the modes would actually be different and there'd be a clear choice as to which was better. One idea would be that of Silksong mode, the Silksong version of Steel Soul. They say that this mode will add a lot of new content, and it will obviously be much harder. And this could be a solution that could be offered at the start of the game for players, and hopefully it wouldn't change much about the original game so you could get the same experience, and they wouldn't kill off Tuck. Or another option for players who would want the difficulty and the bonus content, which would be awesome. Also in Hollow Knight, most of the difficulty came for those who felt like deciding to do a 112% playthrough of the game, and not to get the basic ending, but instead do all of the additional content. Alright, now let's try and design an easy mode system for Silksong. Before I do this, I would like to state again that I do not think Silksong should have an easy mode, as it would be bad for the gameplay and for the community as well. And also, I would like to say difficulty in games should be changeable, as I'm annoyed that if you choose easy mode and you get really good, you can't change out of it to get to a normal mode. Or, again, to use Warrior as an example, I got stuck on one boss, the Dwarven boss, for hours, and I put down the game for over 2 months because I couldn't change the difficulty and then beat this boss. But anyways, on to Silksong's systems. To start, this system will function with a lot of hitboxing changes, as I feel it makes the game easier, but doesn't mess with the world. I would make all of the enemies' hitboxes a slight bit bigger by, say, 15%, and Hornet's hitbox smaller by the same amount, which would make combat encounters slightly easier without changing the overall experience or timing. This would also apply to any platforming objects like buzzsaws or those fancy bells we see in the trailer. But these hitboxes would have large pogo dimensions, larger than the size that they actually are, so that pogoing is more forgiving, and they would have smaller damage dimensions so that you could get closer and not have to have perfect timing. This would also work in tandem with my next idea, which would increase your needle hitbox by, again, say 15%. This would also make platforming even more forgiving, as you could pogo with a longer nail, and it would make combat easier as Hornet could reach a bit further. I would also extend ledges a slight bit and increase jump size by the smallest margin to make this game even more forgiving. And for an even added bonus, I'm going to make a bit of an assumption about Silksong. So, let's say that there's a charm in this game with an incredible upside, say 75% extra damage, but it comes at the expense of lower rosary gathering. I would, in this situation, hope that rosaries are more of a late game item to get some weird bonuses or skins or extra side quests so that the bad player could use an amazing charm without the fear of having a terrible trade-off. And then, in the same situation, I would hope that Lumify Lantern or Mask Shards wouldn't be purchasable from vendors or items of that much importance. I might also, in the system, increase silk gain from enemies by about 1 or 2 per hit so that healing is easier, because in this game you will be at low health a lot because of how the heal mechanic works. And maybe I would also turn an 8-use tool, such as the throwing knives, into being able to use it 9 times for someone who's using easy mode. Lastly, I would slightly boost invincibility frames after taking damage so that the player could get in an extra hit or 2 so that they'd have an easier time with the boss and not quit the game. As much as I don't want a easy mode in Silksong, I feel that this system would work and be forgiving but not sacrifice the experience. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this interesting take on Silksong's easy mode. Make sure to watch Mithril or Stizzle's video on the subject, or both even better, as both of these videos inspired the one I just made. And please subscribe to my channel to stay tuned for some Hollow Knight content, and don't forget, I now have a Patreon with some incredible rewards for those who decide to back it, so make sure to check that out at patreon.com/Ravenbane. Thank you guys, have a nice day. I'm Ravenbane, goodbye.